Hey up, guys, welcome to Ricky's guitar channel thing on YouTube. This is another lesson today. I know I'll just point this up. I've been talking a lot about the CAGED system, and I realized that the videos that I have on the channel, one of them was on a Mac and it filmed it mirror image, and then another one, the audio interface turned me into Barry White and everything's a tone lower. So I thought it's worthwhile touching on it again, because the CAGED system Octaves is really the key of what I want to get to today, and how that is your fretboard GPS. It's your way of finding your way around the network, around the neck. Yeah, so it's a fretboard navigation tool. It is not just how to play chords. It is how to play chords, and I think I've got something, you know, a kind of maybe a bit of a mini rant about, is it worth learning the CAGED system and that kind of stuff. But really, what I want to get into today really is reiterate that CAGED system as your GPS, and as such, you know, that will then enable you to find chords, scales, and arpeggios. Because I just want to reiterate this thing, is that there's three elements of pitch that we have to learn as musicians. Yeah, and that's chords, scales, and arpeggios. Now, chords are the clumps of notes. The scales are the single notes, and the arpeggios are essentially the chords strung out into single notes. So the arpeggio is kind of in between. Now, the CAGED system enables you to find all three things that I've just said there: the chords, the scales, and the arpeggios. So it's a kind of a really crucial kind of thing to learn, I think. Yeah, there are others out there that don't, but usually you find that they're elitist, nylon string. Yeah, I said that. You know, they have some bug with it. I have no idea why, because anything that helps people to learn the guitar and understand the guitar is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Poo-pooing something doesn't make you right. Anyhow, so now the whole crux of the CAGED system is that it's born from the 5 CAGED chords, which is the C shape, the A shape, the G shape, the E shape, and the D shape. And what that does is essentially that spells the word caged, which is why it's called the CAGED system. Yeah. So the C shape, let me point my camera down here. The C shape, the A shape, the G shape, the E shape, and the D shape. And these are the 5 shapes. Now, if you play some funky looking chords like this, and you think to yourself, well, that doesn't look like any of those chords. Well, actually, that is a mutation of the original shape, which is a C shape, which here has been transposed. That's a it's on the right, so the 5th fret, so that's a D7 sharp 9. Yeah, so the Hendrixy chord, if you want to think of it in that way. So we've got these shapes here, and that's what we're looking at now. The way I think that the octaves are really super useful is that they enable you to move up and down the neck. So I mean, I'll just demonstrate here. I'm going to play the note C everywhere on the fretboard using this CAGED octave pattern. Get that last note in there. Did you hear that? So that C, 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 until I run out of frets. I just played every C note there that exists on the fretboard. So this is what I mean by it being your navigation, your fretboard navigation tool. It's a fretboard GPS. That's the way I think about it, because if I know what shape I'm on, what I'm playing around, then I can see my whole surroundings on the fretboard, visualize it, and the shape gives me something to use, because that's what we do. That's what we do. We look for shapes in things. Yeah. So anyhow, so if we take away the notes that we don't need, we're just exposing the C notes in this C chord. Yeah, and if you play a C chord, you know, you start on your A string, strum down, yeah, and that's 5 strings. But the only strings we're interested in this are the root notes of the C chord. So the 3rd fret of the A string and the 1st fret. Hey up, guys. The 1st fret of the B string. So look, now that's really cool, because I can use this, I can transpose this idea to find other notes elsewhere on the B string. Now let me get this straight. I know that learning your notes can be quite tricky, but if you learn the E string first, then it gives you a good foundation. I always say this to my students: it's always easier to get somewhere new from somewhere you already know. Yeah. Now, most people, because they play punk rock stuff on these 2 strings, you end up knowing these notes on the E and the A string first. And because you do that, because you know the notes on the A string, then if I take this, say, 5th fret on the A string here, and I play that C shape over here, I know that's a D, and I know that that's going to be a D as well. Look. So I can translate, I can transpose that information there over onto the B string. That's an E, that's an E. F, F, G. Now, if you've ever played Foo Fighters or any jazz, you already know that kind of that E shape, that A-shaped octave pattern there. But this just shows you how usable this idea here is. And you know underneath it, the underlying chord is going to be a C shape, right? And the underlying arpeggio and the underlying scale is going to be a C shape. I'm not saying caged is the only way. No way is it the only way. But it's there. And whether you think you're using it or not, whether you say, no, it's useless, blah, 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 and you got a bee in your bonnet about it, you're still using it. So regardless, it's there. You can't help it. Yeah. Right. So there's the C shape, the C-shaped octave. Right. The A shape. Well, this is another 5-string chord. The A string is the open string. And then 2nd fret on the G string, we get another A. That's the octave pattern there. Yeah, that's the one I was just playing. So if I go, that's A, move the pattern up. And it's useful to know this, because if you want to thicken out something like a power chord, you can add the octave there, and that will make that whole power chord more chunky, more, just a bit more girth to it. Yeah, I did say girth. If we take that to the 3rd fret, yeah, you can see that's a C, that's a C, D, E. And this is looking at these shapes individually, right? But here's the thing where these two connect, because remember, C chord, yeah, it's a 5-string shape. It starts, you start the chord on the A string. The A chord, it's a 5-string shape. You start the strum on the A string, right? So if I join those two together, yeah, you can see that the C shape is the first shape, the A shape is the next shape. And that ties in with these chords. If you know the chords, there's the full chord. But we don't want the full chord because we're looking at these octaves. Yeah, pull those fingers away so you can see that. So after the A shape, we get the G shape. Now the G shape, it uses 6 strings. Yeah. We've got a root note of the G chord here. And because this is an E string, anything that happens on this E string can happen on this E string here. So put that over there, And we can see that this is going to be a G here, but that G chord, it has an open G string as well. So we get 3 G's in that chord. You think about it, why does G sound big and bold and strong? And it's because it's got 3 root notes in it. It's very, very resolute. It's got a good, strong platform there of rootiness. It's a very rooty chord. So, but the thing I like to look at this with this is if I take that across there, this is the open G string, and this one here on the 3rd fret of the thin E string is a G as well. Now, at the end, I'll show you something where this gets used in something extremely famous and a famous musical motif, if you will. So we've got that A shape, we've got the G shape, and if I just link those up together, C shape, A shape, and what I do is I use the higher up the fretboard position, and I kind of think there's like a meridian, there's a kind of an equator, so you can see that note there, the C shape goes back, the A shape is advancing. That's progressive, that's regressive. So we want to think of it that way. So looking at this, there's the A shape, and the G shape is advancing. It's progressive up the neck. Remember, because that's a thin E string, anything that happens there can be reflected over on the thick E string. So if I take that note over there, I can put this one over here. This is the E shape. Now the E shape and the A shape, they're the same. Yes, they're the same distance. They look very, very much the same, just like power chords do. You can switch power chords down. So that's a good kind of visual aid to help you through that. So there's the E shape. If we think about the E chord as well, we've got an open E here on the thick E string. We've got an open E on the thin E string. And we have a fretted E on the D string there on the 2nd fret. So this chord sounds rooty and very, very strong as well. You'll hear this. You'll know that the number of root notes really kind of strengthens and emboldens that chord as being the name of the chord. You know, so if that's G, you know it's G. If that's E, then you know it's E. And that's useful for hearing and listening and building up your oral skills as well. So coming from the E there's E, there's the octave. The next shape up from the E shape is C, A, G, E, D. We're going to get to the D chord now. Now, the D chord's a funny one because it only uses 4 strings. Your D string is your root note of that chord. And therefore, there is only 2 notes in this shape. There we go. So we can see we've got an open D, and then 3rd fret of the B string, that's another D, and that's the octave pattern. The thing I like to look at this is, if you look at the D-shaped pattern, I'll play it here at the 5th position. It's exactly the same as the G shape. You can see that this exists and lives inside your minor pentatonic pattern. There's lots of different ways of seeing this, so it's going to help you. You need to know where your notes are so you can target them and hit them explicitly when you solo it, you know. So there's the D shape, yeah. Taking that D shape up, so we've got C, A, G, E, and then D. Those are the 5 caged shapes. Now, just to show you how these chords go up, the caged sequence also maintains order as you go up the neck with your shapes, with your chord shapes, your scale shapes, and your arpeggio shapes as well. So if I play this C here, that's the C-shaped C. And if you think to yourself, caged, okay, so we've done with C, what's the next shape going to be? C, A. The next shape is going to be an A shape. Right? After that, you think to yourself, C, A, G. Okay, G. Now what happens, this is a bit tricky, and it's not practical, but if you can see it, then you can kind of wend your way around it and figure things out around it, you know. So, and the beautiful thing is there's that part of the A shape, that 5R3, I was on about that yesterday. Yeah, that becomes where you bar, you hold your G shape. Can you see the G shape? It's awkward, it's bloody horrible, right? So if I take that there and a bar, that's a G shape, but essentially, if you listen to the sound, yeah, it's a C. Now the thing is, guys like Hendrix would have got rid of these two notes here and just played the inversion. Played the inversion. That's a lovely little thing to notice. Yeah, but that is the G shape there. Now, so we've gone C, A, G, E. So there's the E. That's the first sort of bar chord you come across. There's the octave. There's the other octave. There's the E shape. This is tricky because I've got to go jump across. That's my root note. It's on the D string, so it's telling me that the octave that I need to use is going to be a D shape. I'm going to form that with these three fingers here. It's a bit awkward, you can see, but you can see, hopefully you can see that that's that much loved D shape. You know, it's one of the first shapes that you learn. And then what you can do is you bar across there, or you can hold it. Let's have a look. You can hold, add bar across. You don't even need to do it. You can hold it like that. You can hold it like that. It's amazing. Right. Right, so that's the shapes going up. I'd play that like that. Play that like that. It's kind of shorthand, if you will. You can play the full chords, but you know, this is just for the purposes of showing you this. So if I start on that C here, C shape here, and outline those caged octaves, however, C, C, that's the C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, D shape, there, back to the beginning of the C shape because I've gone past the 12th fret. Everything starts again. C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape. I've run out of frets, right? Okay, and this is going to apply wherever you start on whatever note. So if you go from whichever note that you can think of. So if I said, okay, let's say F sharp, for instance. There's F sharp that you know. What string is it on? It's on the E string. So it could only be one of two shapes, right? Because you remember E string, the chords, look, the C shape starts on the 5th string, the A shape starts on the 5th string, the G shape starts on the 6th string, the E shape starts on the 6th string, and the D shape starts on the D string. Okay? Right, so because it's there on the E string, it could only be one of two shapes. Could either be the E shape, yeah, or it could be the G shape. Now, if you think about that sort of idea of progression and regression, then there's nowhere for me to regress back. I'd have to go, you know, I'd have to have an extra fret going backwards, and obviously because the head note, you know, that's not going to happen. So the thing is, if that's the case, and that's the G shape, then I think about the sequence C, A, G, E comes next. So E, there's the E. So I'm going to think the E shape pattern, up 2 strings, over up 2 frets, over 2 strings. That gives me another F sharp. Because it's on this E string, it can be reflected again over on this E string. Now, what shape comes after the E shape? The D shape, right? So if I take this D shape up there, that gives me the F sharp here. Right, C, A, G, E, D. I've got to the end of the CAGED sequence, so I've got to go back to the beginning because it just loops and cycles round. So here, that's F sharp, but I can find the note by going backwards using that C shape to help myself. Right, okay, so coming up here again from the A string, that means it's going to be an A shape or a C shape, remember. That's where it's going backwards. This is where it's advancing. Yeah. Same notes. A shape. I'm at the equivalent of the 2nd fret again now, an octave higher. I'm at the 14th fret here. And then all I need to do then, really, I'm kind of breaking this down, but all I need to do is really just follow the shapes. Okay? Any note, it doesn't matter which string you start on, because the string that you start on is going to tell you, give you an idea of which shape. If it starts on an E string, yeah, then it's either going to be a G or an E shape. If it starts on the A string, it's going to be a C or an A shape. And if it starts on the D string, then it's going to be a D shape. So if we look at that, look, let me just look. Let's go B flat on the A string. I can't go backwards, so I've got to come up. It's an A shape. What comes next? A, G. G is reflected. That note is reflected over there because it's on an E string. Now the thing of this is it doesn't matter what it is that you're playing tonality wise. It doesn't matter if it's major, minor, minor 7 flat 5. It does not matter. You know, it becomes a cool way for you to be able to see things and how you can use it to like I say, is this fretboard GPS. Say, for instance, yeah, I wanted to play something like a minor 7 flat 5. And I know it sounds like an expensive sounding chord. And if I take a something like an A minor 7 here, I'm going to play it like this here. And I know that from knowing my power chords that that's a root and that's a fifth. If I said a minor 7 flat 5 and I flattened that down, then you know that this chord's going to sound absolutely disgusting. The notes are too close to each other. But what I can do is, because I know that that note lives on the A string, I've got options. I can take that original shape and I can take that note and I can drop it down onto the B string. Look, and I'm using the C-shaped octave to help me to see the way. So if I add that note instead to that shape, now I get a much more palatable A minor 7 flat 5. And this is a way to help you find the notes in different places so you can voice chords, so you can find the notes in your scales a lot easier. This has been a long one, guys. Great to see so many people watching. If this is your first time, have I left anything out of that? Any questions there? If this is your first time, then I will drop some PDFs in the description here. They're beautiful colored ones as well. The way that I thought about it is because it's navigation, I've done them in a kind of in a London tube map manner. Yeah, they're colourful. So you'll see how the patterns work. Oh, and I did mention the little riff. I'll play it in its original key. The first, when you realise this, that the CAGED thing is going on and it's octaves, D-shaped octave. Yeah. Mind blown on that one. Look, octave, octave. It goes shifts from a D-shaped octave to a G-shaped octave. You've got to see these things. Right. Watch again later. Yes, definitely. Anyhow, like I say, if this is your first time, consider subscribing. And also check out these guys. This is my mate, Sam Wood. He's in this band, Wayward Sons. If you've heard of Little Angels or any of those guys, then you'll know Wayward Sons. He's my boy. I'm going to hopefully get him on here to do an interview. But we'll see what goes on there. Hi, Richard. So if this is your first time, please consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment below if you found this useful. It is a really, really useful way of getting around your fretboard, seeing where everything is. And if anybody tells you CAGED system, the CAGED system is useless and it's like blah, 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 you know what? You know what I think of them, don't you? Yeah. Okay then, guys. Right. I'll see you tomorrow for another lesson. Maybe something a little bit more basic, I think. We'll take it back a bit.